Hi everyone, and welcome to a really exciting lesson where we're going to be working with the Pythagorean Theorem. So let's go ahead and take a look at our focus. Our focus is to master the ability to use the Pythagorean Theorem to find the length of the hypotenuse of a right triangle. And by the end of this lesson, you should be able to answer the question, if you know the length of two legs of a right triangle, how would you find the hypotenuse? Now it's important to keep in mind all of the parts of a right triangle and to also know that the Pythagorean theorem can only be used in solving for the length of any side of a right triangle. It can only be a right triangle. So first let's go ahead and establish the parts of a right triangle. Here we have two legs, and then our hypotenuse is always directly across from our right angle. So right across from it is going to be our hypotenuse, which is what we're going to be solving for today. We're going to be given the lengths of our legs, A and B, and then we're going to solve for C, which is our hypotenuse. And just a little bit of background about the Pythagorean theorem is that it's an equation that shows the relationship between the legs and the hypotenuse of a right triangle. And here is the formula that we're going to be using in order to solve for the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now it's important to remember and write this down that it only works with right triangles. So let's go ahead and get started and take a look at an example. In this example, here we have a right triangle, and we're provided a length of two legs. We have 7 centimeters and 24 centimeters, and we're asked to find the hypotenuse, which is C. So we're going to evaluate our variables, A and B, with the lengths that were provided. So here we have 7 squared, 7 for A, plus 24 squared, 24 for B, is equal to C squared. Now we're going to rewrite 7 squared as our base, which is 7, is being factored 2 times. So we're going to write that in the form of repeated multiplication, which is 7 times 7. I want you guys to make sure that you're not multiplying 7 times 2 because it's severely different. 7 times 2 would equal 14, while 7 times 7, 7 squared, is equal to 49. Plus 24 squared, which is 24 times 24, is equal to C squared. And when we simplify this, 24 times 24 is equal to 576. We're going to drop down the rest of our equation, equals C squared. Now we're left to simplify the left side of our equation. 49 plus 576 equals 625. We're going to drop down the rest of our equation. Now, in order to solve for only C, which is our hypotenuse, we need to get rid of this squared. In order to undo squaring, we need to find the square roots. They are arch enemies. Think of inverse operations, how addition and subtraction are inverse operations. Same with multiplication and division. Square root and squares are inverse operations. So going back to our problem, in order to undo this squaring, we need to find the square root of both the left and right side of our equation. When we do that, those cancel out. We're only left with C, which is our hypotenuse. And if we use a calculator, which I'll pull up right here, we have our calculator. We have to find the square root of 625, which is 25. So in short, the length of our hypotenuse of this right triangle is 25 centimeters. Now keep in mind, the hypotenuse is always the longest length of our right triangle. So if you would come up with an answer of a hypotenuse that is shorter than any of the other lengths that you have provided, you want to go back and double check your answer because your hypotenuse C is always going to be the longest length. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example. In this specific example, we're not provided an image of a right triangle. We are only given the measurements, where A is equal to 18 and B is equal to 22. And we're asked to find the length of the hypotenuse, which is C, and we're asked to also round to the nearest tenth. So let's go ahead and plug in our values for our variables. So 18 squared plus 22 squared is equal to C squared. Now we're going to simplify our exponents and rewrite that as repeated multiplication. Our base of 18 is being factored twice, so 18 times 18 plus 22 times 22 is equal to C squared. 18 times 18 equals 324, plus 22 times 22 is equal to 484. Equals C squared. Now we need to simplify the left side of our equation and find the sum of 324 plus 484, which equals 808, equals C squared. Now, like we said in our previous example, and how finding the square root of a value will undo squaring. So let's find the square root of both the left and the right side of our equation. I'm going to pull up the calculator once again, where we have 808, and we need to find the square root of that, which equals 28.425. So I'm going to write that down. C is equal to 28.425, but we're asked to round to the nearest tenths place, which is right here. So we're going to look at the value after our tenths place to tell us if we're going to round up or round down. And being that it's a 2, we're going to stay the same. So C is equal to 28.4. And there you have it. Now we're to the end of our lesson, so let's go ahead and review. We talked about what the Pythagorean theorem is and how it is used to find the length of any side, really, of a right triangle, specifically the hypotenuse, which is C, the longest length of the right triangle. So go ahead and see if you can answer this question. If you know the length of two legs of a right triangle, how do you solve for the hypotenuse? If you have any questions regarding this lesson, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I look forward to seeing you guys in class. Bye!